Today we have Brendon McCoy from Newport Hospitality. Brendon has started off as a banquet houseman and is now the Vice President of Operations of Newport Hospitality. Today he's going to teach us how to climb the corporate ladder and the things that we need to do to advance our career in the hospitality industry. All this and more on today's Hotel Insider. This episode is brought to you by Hotel Guest Management, the #1 hotel revenue experts. 95% of revenue managers are doing this wrong and they don't even know it. Revenue management is more than just looking at reports and setting rates. What's the point of setting a rate just to put it on an OTA website to compete with a bunch of other hotels? The purpose of using an OTA is to give them the leftovers, not the main course, which is why your hotel needs revenue management marketing. With revenue management marketing, you'll be able to beat the OTAs to the punch by providing your hotel's rates right at your customer's door on all their favorite platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Google, Instagram, and TikTok. It works so well, the OTAs are starting to use the strategy. You'll see it time and time again all over social media. There's only one problem: they can't do it better than us. See if revenue management is something that can benefit your hotel. Click the link below and book your discovery appointment. Hey, what's going on? You know who it is. It's Bruce Jordan, MJF Hotels, and you know who we got here with me today. We got Brendon McCoy. What's going on, man?
Another day, another dollar, man.
You know, I see you grinding out here. We got them on property, so you know when the VP's on property, some change is about to be made.
Yes, sir.
You know, I always start off the interview telling everybody, hey, how did you get started in the hospitality industry?
So, April 2011, started off as a banquet houseman at a Hilton Garden Inn in Columbia, South Carolina. And it was about a year removed from college. Did some HVAC construction for about a year to help pay down some student loans.
Oh, man.
But I got a degree from the University of South Carolina in hospitality management. So I jumped back into the industry. I had a little experience in an internship at South Carolina my last year there, which was a requirement to graduate. But I got started at the Hilton Garden Inn as a banquet houseman. Worked for about 3 or 4 weeks. They threw me in housekeeping. And quickly, about 2 weeks into that, they promoted me to housekeeping supervisor. Did that for about 3 months, and our executive housekeeper at the time got promoted to front office manager.
Okay.
And then they promoted me to executive housekeeper. So I did that for about 2.5 years. And then so I was there for 3 years. The last 6 months I was food and beverage and rooms director. And then,
sheesh.
Yeah.
Golly.
Yeah. So it was a busy Hilton Garden Inn, both in F&B, busier than your typical HGI, and then was the leader in housekeeping. So that was my start. And then I got my first opportunity at GM at a Town Place Suites in Columbia. And then I bounced around to 4 hotels in about 4 years. And then it came full circle, and they brought me back as the GM of that Hilton Garden Inn in Columbia. Did that for 3.5 years. The last year of that, I was a regional director. So I was the acting GM, but also oversaw 2 other hotels. One in Columbia, the Town Place, where I got my first GM gig, and then a Fairfield in Charlotte. So the last year I was a GM there. That was my regional role, and then I got promoted 2 weeks before COVID to Vice President of Operations with Newport Hospitality Group, which is my current role.
Wow. So start out as a banquet houseman, then with the housekeeping, and now you're the VP.
Yeah.
See, this is why I have so much respect for anyone in any position when I talk to them. I don't care what position you play. I always talk to you like I'm talking to the President of the United States, because one day you may be the President of the United States.
Absolutely.
Or the VP of Operations. So this is so important. So, you know, we're talking about like a career investments. Like, what made you decide to go with
Newport Hospitality? Because a lot of people, they don't feel like they're getting their shot. They don't feel like they're getting their chance. I know people that have been general managers at the same company for 30 years.
Right.
And they just can't move up.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think everyone has unique opportunities that are presented. For me, those opportunities were presented pretty quickly. I think my work ethic and my ability to get great results and proven results was part of that. But also, when I first started with Newport, we're in the low 20s, and now we're hovering around 50 hotels in our portfolio. So there was a natural ability and opportunity within Newport, just so happened to happen when I came on board and became a GM. So, it's a good question, because I can speak to some of the folks I know in the industry that are really good GMs, and when I talk to them, a lot of them, don't have the opportunity within their current organization. And I think, just my 11 years in this industry, a lot of folks, they get coached and brought up through one single organization.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of general managers being promoted to a vice president of operations or even a regional director with a new company as a GM. They look for that experience, because there's certainly a learning curve.
Oh yeah.
And 2 years in, that learning curve is still there for me. I strive to learn something new each and every day. We talked about this last week. You're either growing or you're rotting, right?
That's right. That's right.
But I think it's a good question. I think for me personally, there was opportunities that happened to be there and were presented, and I was eager and ready to knock it out of the park and do the best I could. And I think ultimately it's because I had a really good mentor. And the first year at that Hilton Garden Inn, they saw, a burning desire to want to do well in this business.
And results.
Right. And, that individual helped me immensely to help me grow. And it was a mentor I could come to him with anything and be transparent and vulnerable. And, that person I owe a lot to in terms of my knowledge of the industry and, the ability to have the opportunity to be where I'm at now with Newport Hospitality Group.
What are some of the things, because I feel like a lot of it is self-development, and I feel like especially when we're in the hotel industry, we're so busy moving and going and shaking, like we really don't have like the time to really develop ourselves from outside of the hotel that we're in. So what are like some of the self-development techniques that you use that help you in your career?
Honestly, the fact that I was at the University of South Carolina, and it has a respectable reputation for their hospitality and hotel management program, and meeting and becoming friends with those folks, my classmates, which I still talk to on a daily, weekly basis, that now work for Hilton and Marriott and other hotel management companies. But being able to reach out to those folks that were in similar paths that my career was, and being able to kind of talk through maybe the challenges that I was having, whether it be with leadership or a particular challenge or issue that I was experiencing in our department, and really talking that through and getting a different perspective. The other positive there and benefit was they were working for other companies, so I could kind of bounce those things off of them, and they explained their company's policies and procedures on certain things or the way they approach a certain situation. So I think that was a key. I was getting an external view, not just who I currently worked for, whether it was a GM or a department head or a company. So yeah.
Nice. To get promoted so close to COVID while everybody was getting laid off. You got to be somebody special. Like, you can't just be anybody getting promoted.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah, 2 weeks. Yeah, so I got promoted, and then my family and I were supposed to move to our corporate office in Williamsburg, Virginia, and that got put on hold. But I was assured that it was still going to happen. But I would be lying to say that I wasn't a little concerned about my livelihood, and I mean, that first couple months was pretty terrible for the entire industry, right? So there was a lot of question marks, but I think that also speaks volumes of the company that I do work for.
Yeah,
so.
For sure. I mean, I'm pretty sure you heard stories about other management companies, and can you really, like, as far as career-wise, like, what's the difference between the management company that you work for and the stories that you heard about other management companies?
I mean, it's kind of across the board. It's all a little different. I've heard of plenty of folks that have worked their way up with one singular company. I think if a company is going to succeed, especially in third-party management, you got to have a strong bench, and you got to have a good culture that wants to see people succeed and give them the tools and resources to succeed, and have that that internal promotion. So I'd seen my GM that hired me at the Hilton Garden in Columbia get promoted, and then other folks that I knew working at other hotels within Newport, I saw those folks get promoted to the corporate office. So I'd already seen a trend, right, with hard work
paying
off and being recognized by the company. I think some would probably argue that you don't want to promote everybody within. However, because you obviously want to have an external view, right?
Correct.
Because you can get a little tunnel vision within, if you promote everybody from the field into the corporate office. But
I've seen that happen.
Yeah, I mean, and we've recently had some positions that were filled with external candidates, and I think it's not because we didn't have someone super qualified to take the step, but it was to, as we've had this 30 property growth over the last 7 years, and probably a once in a lifetime virus come through and change the whole landscape of the hotel industry. I think it's good to have an outsider's view and, give us some hard truths about how we operate. And, as any other company, there's always things to work on and room for improvement. So I think it's been a big positive for us to have that external view and them to be just bluntly honest about, what we need to improve upon. And we have leadership that takes that very serious and wants to enact, change where it's needed.
Speaking of that, bluntly honest, me myself personally, with my own management style, I tend to depend on people that disagree with me more versus the people that agree with me. Like, if someone is agreeing with you all the time, that means they're not seeing what needs to be seen.
Right.
They're not protecting you. They're protecting their job.
Right.
So the hotel needs the person, not with the attitude, but just say, hey, you probably want to look out for this. You probably want to look out for that.
Right.
But in my career, a majority of the people that I seen go up through the ranks faster is usually the person that is agreeing with them. Yeah. Everybody all the time. So how does that work?
Well, I think at the end of the day, you don't want a bunch of yes men or women.
Yes, that's correct.
And
I mean, no.
Right, exactly. You got to be able to have, honest conversations, whether it's a process or procedure or maybe, reviewing a takeover or a hotel, and let's talk about what we did well and what we need to work on. And I think it's a necessity for growth and for peak performance for a company, and it's healthy for a company to really encourage honest feedback and not deter honest feedback, even if it hurts someone's feelings or
ego, pride.
Yeah. And I think that's a big part of leadership in general, right? Whether it's a department head or a GM or some a vice president of operations or CEO or COO, you got to have some tough skin and know that you're not going to always make perfect decision every time.
Yeah.
So show some humility and I think if your team, especially your leadership team, sees that, again, whether it's corporate level, property level, that's who people want to work for. You don't want a know-it-all or someone that's going to devalue or not appreciate an honest opinion. I mean, the suggestion or opinion might not be the route that the company wants to go in, but it needs to be heard out and intently heard out, and there needs to be a dialogue of what happens with that feedback. I think follow-up is key, and I feel like if employees, whether property level or corporate level, feel that their feedback is truly heard and appreciated, regardless if the leader agrees with it, I think it's gonna create a positive culture within the organization, and one that really values its employees' honest opinion and thought. And I think that only helps stimulate growth and help maybe fix challenges that a particular company might be going through.
I agree. When it comes to the career path, people just not having the same opportunities that Newport Hospitality provides. Not every management company has the opportunities that you have. What are some of the things that employees should look out for when it comes to choosing the right management company to work for, so they can get those opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, with me, clearly I've only worked for Newport Hospitality, right? So,
but I know you heard stories.
But I've heard stories, and I think from my perspective, I think whatever that employee that wants to move up, clearly their values need to be in line with the company that they're looking at working for one, because long-term success with that company is going to hinder very much on that fact, and making sure that they have a positive culture that promotes internal growth, but also so for instance, say you have a GM that's been at a management company for 5 years, done a really good job, maybe they're the top GM of that in that management company, but there's no growth opportunities. And I think you have to sit down with the folks that make those decisions, whether it's a self-managed company or a third-party management company, and ask them what their growth plans are. It used to be we used to have annual GM and DOS conferences, right? And I'm sure many other companies did that as well, but they've been put on hold. And that's really where that information would be given, kind of an update, state of the union of the company, right? And we do those actually on monthly calls. We have our VP of development let the whole entire field know what properties are coming, what properties may be going, and just make sure that the field knows what opportunities are going to be there. But I think going back to that employee looking for a company that they can grow with, I think you have to have that honest conversation with whoever makes those decisions, and hopefully they're honest with you, or them, and they give a 3 to 5 year plan.
Yeah.
I think a lot of folks probably steer away with that uncomfortable conversation, or who's this person asking this? But if you think about it, it's your career, right? 5 years goes by pretty quick, so
that you can't get back.
Right, exactly. So if you have those conversations up front, really, I would say that should be in an interview process. What are their plans? And I think ultimately, as someone interviewing someone, if they ask me that question, I'd be pretty impressed because I know they're career driven and they're asking questions of what their future looks like, and they care about that. So that would be the top two things, or top three things rather. Making sure culture fits, values fit, and asking that question of what their growth plans are.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Man, listen, thank you so much. How can everybody get in contact with you?
On my cell or my email. My email is brendonm@nhghotels.com. Again, that's brendonm@nhghotels.com.
Nice.
I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, listen, it's an honor and a privilege. The reason why I had him on is because I was so inspired by his story, especially to do it with one company, because I don't see it that often. Like usually I see people to get to that level, they done went through like 5 companies.
Right.
So the fact that Newport is actually that company that still believes and cherish the people within, and giving them that opportunity, I just thought that was amazing. So
yeah.
I was like, I gotta have him on the show because people have to know that there's still companies out there that do this.
and we're looking to grow too, the right way. So,
yeah. Fantastic.
Thanks again for having me.
Anytime. And thank you for joining us for another episode of the Hotel Insider. And this is Bruce Jordan, the MJ of Hotels, signing out.